Done.
Okay. Well,
Ready to go.
what kind was it though? Lucky Charms?
No, shit, it sucked. It was Honey Bunches of Oats.
Oh, we've got a bunch of that generic stuff. My wife gets that. It's generic though.
It sounded a lot better than something generic like that.
The trick is you got to do like 2/3 milk, 1%, and then you got to dump like heavy whipping cream on top, and then about 2 tablespoons of fucking sugar. Then it's good.
Make a thick cream out of the milk.
Dude, it's awesome. Try it.
That's a good one. I'll have to test that out.
I will too.
Okay. All right, dude. I'm gonna mute everybody out here, and then I'm gonna do the little bit of an intro. You hear me talk, and then I'll introduce you, and we'll be golden.
Perfect.
All right, cool. Here we go. What's up, guys? Today's been pretty hectic. We actually just got back from an elk meeting with the SD, GF, and P. A little bit of depredation talk and some going over the guidelines and what they plan on doing for elk numbers this year. But this is the podcast where we break it down, fellas. We go into detail with the equipment that we use and how we use it, application specific. I'm your host, James O'Neill. We have John O'Neill with us as co-host, and our goal is to get as many subject matter experts online with us as we can, so you guys can learn more, we can learn more, and we can all benefit and be more proficient with the information. We've got a special guest today, Aaron Davidson from GunWerks, and we've really had the pleasure of working with them over the past year and a half or so. And, you know, we'll go into a little bit of detail on my personal experiences with their stuff and what I think about the situation. I mean, they make awesome equipment, but let's talk to Aaron first. So Aaron, we're jacked to have you on. We've had a lot of guys that are really excited for this podcast. We'll keep it however long you want. It doesn't matter to us. We can hammer this out in 30 minutes or an hour and a half, but why don't you go into detail about basically who you are, how and why and when you started GunWerks.
Okay. Aaron Davidson. I am the CEO and founder of GunWerks. We started GunWerks in 2006. The goal was to create turnkey systems touching all the different aspects of the rifle shot. So we're talking rifles, optics, ammunition, you know, range finding, support equipment, etc. Like anything that helps you make that shot, that's our business. So why, when, and how is I had been working my ass off for a couple years, saved up about 150 G's and said, screw it, I'm done with construction. I'm done with this other stuff. So my education in engineering kind of set me up to really understand a lot of the really technical stuff about long range shooting, you know, manufacturing, rifle systems, accuracy, precision, all that stuff.
How long ago would you say that was when you really got into it, when you started really getting into detail, building the rifles and kind of take us along where start to where you are now, you know, like.
Sure. So I went to school to become an electrical engineer, which is really stupid. I don't know why. I was into cars. Like I built hot rods when I was in high school, and then I got married right out of high school, and my wife and I had all sorts of hot rods. I mean, my daily driver for the first couple of years of college was a 1964 Impala Super Sport. And the reason why I drove that is because my 1969 Camaro was always tore apart in pieces, and I was trying to soup this motor up or fix this or do that. But I was building cars, and I'd spray cars, I would build motors, I would do all that stuff. So mechanically inclined. Again, don't know why I picked electrical engineering, but that wore out quick. and I switched my major to mechanical. And then kind of along the way, started a family, started having some kids, started running out of cash, and started selling cars. And long Laramie winters, started making more kids, but also had a lot of trips to the range, and really got into guns, and started exploring reloading, started exploring, building rifles, making things better, running into issues. In fact, in Laramie, I mean, this is probably 1999. I presented to one of my classes, I presented a product that I proposed would be revolutionary. And I'm such an engineering nerd. I had my TI 89 super calculator, and I wrote a little code for it and showed how you could, take inputs for a ballistic, shot, and you could calculate it right there and it would spit out a solution. I mean, this is before smartphones. This is so far back that way ahead of the industry, and where people were thinking. The frickin' instructor says, well, that's stupid. That's a stupid idea. If I'm going to shoot at something, I'll just shoot, and then wherever it hits, I'll just hold that much higher, way faster. I mean, what an idiot, right? I mean, look at where we are today with ballistic equipment, with calculators, solvers, tech gear, everything. It's really exciting. But that's where I got into it, and I was working my way through college doing, construction stuff. So I would make 75 G's a summer and put it in the bank, spend it all winter, and then go back to work. And it was pretty cool, but I kind of couldn't get a job when I graduated that would even compete with that type of money in that short of time. So I said, screw it, I'm just going to do my own thing. And I did that for a few more years, and then built up that nest egg. And again, so in the guns, I'm like, I just got to do this. I've got to start building. The first gun I built was on an Hasika Bay Action. Used a high-tech specialty stock and a Leopold scope, and did a Magnum 7, basically the precursor to that 7LRM. And that gun was light and it hurt to shoot, and you could shoot a long ways, and kind of was the beginning.
And from where you were then to where you are now, I mean, we've got a rifle here that's on the table that we actually worked with you guys on the design work that we dubbed the Murad IR for night hunting. And the amount of ingenuity that you guys have designing, like, even your own stocks and your own actions, the capabilities. What were some of the introductory rifles that you guys started with, say, 10 years ago, compared to what you guys were marketing? Here's the thing. I watched you guys. I've seen you guys on TV for probably from the beginning. I mean, I don't know if I would use the word pioneering be the wrong term regarding long range hunting that you guys
totally. Yeah, absolutely. We're not the first guys, and there's not one pioneer, but we definitely pushed it. We published it, we showed it happen, and we built our entire brand on kind of being first to market with that total system that allowed people with relatively little capability and experience to do frickin' awesome stuff, because we took all the guesswork out of it.
I got you. So going back to some of those rifles, say, for example, give us a rundown on one of your, I'm curious, on one of your rifles 10 years ago, just say a decade ago, what were you doing? What were you putting together? What were you doing to the rifles? How were you kicking them out the door about that time frame?
Yeah, so 10 years ago, we were actually running a real business and starting to grow. That first rifle system that we built was called the Long Range Hunter. We eventually called that the LR1000. We did a stock design that took like classic American stock and basically analyzed, okay, well, here's what we're trying to achieve with a rifle stock. And I think a lot of guys just completely skip that step. They say, well, geez, I want it to look like a Macmillan, or geez, I want it to look like this, fancy old wood stock. And they skip the step that says, well, wait a minute, what is this supposed to do what can we change, and how do those changes affect what the stock does? And if you go through that little exercise, you can really quickly get to some design geometry that's kind of special. So that LR1000 stock had a few things that broke, traditional stock design. For example, negative comb, and the look is exceptional, but the function is also there as well. And we try to keep a lot of this kind of stuff on the down low because everybody emulates the leader. We technically are the leader in this space, and people emulate us and do what we're doing. And if they're not smart enough to figure it out on their own, they might be smart enough to just do what we're doing and receive the same benefit. And we've started to see some of that, pick up, but that stock really drove that whole product. And we would build about a 10, 11 pound gun, run a 5 to 20 optic on there. And we basically did 6.5 284 and 7 Rem Mag were the two calibers we did. And that product was exceptional. I mean, we have people that still have those. I've got one hunter that has one of those that has killed world records all over the world. I mean, I think unbelievable amount of spend. And I always see these trophy pictures with this gun. I'm like, dude, it's time to upgrade. Let's do it. And we'll make you a deal. We'll plate this thing in gold and make it a trophy that you can put in your gun case, and we'll get you something that's a little more cutting edge. But he literally, when he points it, it dies. And so he doesn't want to touch or change anything. But that gun was pretty special. We did the optic. We OEM'd one from Japan. We did kind of some software that would customize the ballistic turrets. And we caught a lot of flack from the hardcore long-range shooters at the time because they're like, you can't use BDC turrets to shoot long range. But we built hundreds of rifles and created our entire business off of a custom BDC turret because it's so easy to use. And in 2011, we pushed out the new BR series rangefinders, the first rangefinder in the whole world that combined rangefinding and ballistic solver in one device. So that pretty much changed the game and cut the legs out from under anybody that wanted to complain about ballistic turrets, because now it would correct for pressure, temperature, inclination, and give you a shoot-to solution. So that was kind of the capstone for that initial project. So we had the scope, we had the rangefinder, we had the rifle system, the ammunition, and we could give our customers that turnkey product that literally would let you just dial and shoot to 1,000+ yards with full confidence. So that's about the state of the art 10 years ago was that product.
What kind of technology were you using to build your components back then? I mean, as opposed to what you're using now, like.
So that gun we used Jerry Stiller. Like early on, we said, "Hey Jerry, you want to help us out with an action?" So we white labeled an action, and we worked with him to make a few changes. I have to admit, some things I get really excited about and just totally nerd out on, and some things I think they're just utilitarian. They have to do their job, and other than that, I don't care. Actions are one of those areas. We ran into, functionality that we felt was holding back, on our customers. Basically our customers could have a slightly better product if we changed a few things, mainly ejection, extraction, and bolt feeding. Bolt lift, bolt cycling, just really simple touch points. So we did an action design, about 8 years ago. We started that project. Seems like we just barely have it under control, but we broke the mold on, we did twin.
Uh-oh. We got a drop on that. We'll get it. But I'll be able to splice. Hey, you should grab me real quick while I get him back on. You should grab me
one of those.
A pen and paper. I'll write some stuff down. Aaron.
Sorry.
Hey, no worries, dude. I'll tell you what real quick. I'm in a spot right now where I'm up in the top of the house. Usually I have pretty good service, and we're supposed to have a cell phone tower that's up, lights are running and everything, but they don't have her working yet. So if we have a drop call, easy enough, we can get her spliced in easy enough.
Yep.
You were just, we lost you right where you said,
action.
Yep, exactly.
So we did about 8 years ago, we did a new action design, and we did a twin cocking cam, buried extractor, double plunger ejector, board and bumps product that just focused on what it's supposed to do, which is feed and eject a shell. And the way we do our chassis, like our stock chassis with our mechanical wedge, we wanted that integral recoil lug. And so we did this action, put it out there, and it's taken us a few years to refine all the dimensions and geometry instead of just copying Remington and using Remington compatible parts. It did slow us down, but the action's cool. But I mean, to me, the real technology in the rifle system is how you manipulate the weight of the gun and the way you create stock designs and other tools that can influence the recoil impulse and your ability, to follow through, to follow up, to get steady, to get lined up. All of those things matter a lot more than some goofy action feature that may or may not give you an advantage. But we do focus on those things that matter for sure.
So that was, I mean, what kind of, when you were talking about, in that decade or so ago with the stock, the Stiller actions that you were running with, what kind of barrel were you, I mean, or did you
I'll tell you, back then, the barrel was a Broden. That thing was awesome. But as we got bigger, those guys couldn't supply us. He just wasn't set up to do business with a real manufacturer like us because of just throughput issues and cash flow issues for them. We used a lot of BART lines there for a long time, and like when those guys kind of were first going and hustling, we did use a lot of BART lines. And then we, as we grew, we ended up using a lot of Rock Creek, and those guys did really well for us for quite a while. As the carbon barrel thing became popular, we used a lot of Proof. And as you grow and expand, you find ways to vertically integrate and ways to control your product. And, right now, barrels are kind of our horizon. Like, we've taken on the composites and the turning and a lot of the barrel manufacturing processes, and we have a lot of control over that product now. And it's pretty exciting because it gives us a lot more consistency in the product that we turn out.
So come from your older models 10 years ago to what you guys are pushing out now, is there certain things that we can elaborate on? Like, I know when Keith and I went to Cody and met with you guys a year and a half ago or so, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to be honest. I run a lot of different stocks. I've got Manners, Bell and Carlson, Macmillan, you name it. I've used a lot of them, and I'm really, honestly, I tell the guys the truth, partial to Manners. I like the feel. I like the options that they have. And when we went up to you guys, and I mean, I wasn't sure what we were in for, but you had us hold the Climber. We got to take a look at some of the new stocks that you guys were developing, and you kind of went through that process. It's really hard for me to explain to guys the feel of that stock until you get it in your hand, because it's almost like it's not even there. Let's talk about the process of the Climber, the Magnus, the Verdict, some like I said, some of the processes and what each one is really designated for. So some of these guys are really getting into it. I'm seeing a lot of guys on Sniper side that are actually pre-ordering. They want to order your stocks. They're just starting to kind of get out there, and guys, so they can do custom builds. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so just to talk about our business process in general, we're really excited to fulfill like anybody's need for parts, pieces, services, or complete systems. Selling actions, selling stocks doesn't necessarily contribute a significant amount of dollars to the bottom line, but for us, it's like we want to share the cool things that we've discovered with everybody. And if you can't afford a full boat system, or better yet, you have the ability and skill, to save the dollars and do a lot of DIY, perfect. I mean, we want you as a customer as well. So we do sell stocks. We do sell actions. The barrel program right now, we're just barely able to keep up with our consumption internally, but that eventually will get big enough that we can start selling barrels. And so we do want to provide, those component pieces for people. But we did the LR1000 stock, and there's this little gap that we haven't discussed, which is a Magnus product. So our Gen 1 Magnus stock, we went a little radical on some of the design geometry and found kind of some limits or trade-offs, and used that product for a long time, and it makes a really cool gun. When we developed this latest series, let's call it, of or family of rifle stocks, the Climber, the Magnus Gen 2, and the Verdict. When we developed those three stocks, we did all of them at once. So we took all of our knowledge, all of the things that we had experienced in the LR1000 and the Magnus, all of our use case, the hundreds of hunting opportunities that we've had, et cetera. We took all of that stuff and we wrapped it up and said, okay, so how are we going to design these? And rather than say, well, we want it to look like the Manners grip and we want it to have so-and-so's forend and this and that, we did the same exercise all over again and said, okay, what do we want to achieve with these products? So, and how can we manipulate the design geometries to achieve optimization for these products? And furthermore, we said, what are these products for, or who is the persona that these products are for? So the Climber stock is for the dedicated mountain hunter. Like, that was what we built that product for. You're going to build a 6.5 or a 7mm, and and I'm a short barrel guy. We've been pushing short barrels for a long time. Back when long range was 32-inch barrels, we were running 24s, and now we're running 20s or 18s. So we're short barrel guys. So that forend's optimized for short. The gun was designed to be compact, lightweight, stable on a backpack, usable on a bipod, and really quickly adjust your elevations and to be able to absorb that recoil and follow through and control it. A couple things on light guns that are interesting is you wrap your thumb around a grip, you're going to cause inconsistencies shot to shot. Take like a little Kimber, awesome little gun, super lightweight, hard to control. Guys grip up and then they get these shots that steer all over the target. That's kind of where that comes from. So we've intentionally created shapes that force you to adopt body controls that give you point of impact consistency. And that's really important when you bust up a hill and you got a stone sheep that's going to cost you $45,000 for that next shot, and you throw down and have seconds to make it happen. First of all, you're not shooting a 15-pound gun, it's a 6-pound gun, and it's not a statistical hit or miss the target. It's you kill that sheep, or you wound that sheep, or you miss that sheep. I mean, you've got those one chance to make it happen. So taking that persona and that stock design, optimizing the grip, etc. Then what's the next one? Basically, you got to have this universal long range hunting product. Here's the, you might want to run the 300s, or dip into a 338 once in a while, control that recoil, handle bigger barrel contours, still balance. So we kind of optimized that one. And then we said, okay, now we've got this tactical, the competitive shooting products were, something that we wanted to look at. And so we did the Verdict so it could cross over in between that ELR or PRS space, et cetera. And it's fairly configurable. So it's got a lot of features there that work for any of those personas. And you've got some side benefits. Like, you would say that Climber makes a really cool, handy, tactical build, with detachable bottom metal and all that stuff. And so all those stocks can cross over into some other spaces. But when we put them together and we identified, dimensional geometries and grip styles and functional aspects, it was done with that, those personas and all the other models in mind. So you don't run into a lot of crossover between those three.
I got you. So that covers the stocks pretty effectively. How much can you talk about? I mean, do you think that we covered your actions? Let's talk about that real quick, because we're running all of the rifles that we have from you, and we've ran all of them except for basically the Magnus stock. We've got a couple climbers. They're kind of tacked out with the bottom metal. I'm looking at a Verdict right here. I really love the design of that. All of our actions have titanium actions. You offer a couple different options, titanium and stainless steel. What are some of but besides those two components, those two materials, what are some of the differences that your actions may have from other manufacturers out there?
You know what? That's one of those areas where, we're glad to pull things in that work. One of the pioneers in action space is Jim Borden. And Jim did a treatment on a bolt called a Borden bump, where you essentially tighten up when you close the bolt. We did pull in that feature with Jim's permission. A side note, we do a really cool 1911 style extractor that fits in under the bolt. And I mean, we've built more than 10,000 actions over a long time and never had a extractor failure. Kind of interesting. But Jim Borden has bought a lot of those extractors from us in the past. So we have worked together, and he was aware that we used that feature, and even kind of gave him some homage by pointing out that they were Borden bumps. But the key thing that I looked at was extraction has to kick a shell straight out the side. So we put that extractor in the lug. So it's not like an M16 that goes on top where it tries to kick your shell up. It's right in line with the lug. And when you pull a shell back, it kicks it straight out the side. So that was a big thing for us. And then we did a twin cocking cam. On a Remington, you just have that single cocking cam on the back of the bolt. We've got a double. And the goal here was to get a really light bolt lift. But instead of going the surgeon route where you do a light spring heavy firing pin, what we wanted to do was get a light bolt lift, but still maintain, a good lock time and enough striking energy. We never had failures with, standard primers. So that did achieve that result, and it was a son of a gun getting the geometry and the machining and all that to work out right. But that proved out to be a good concept. As far as the rest of the action goes, integral lug's pretty important for us, but the rest of it's Remington 700 platform. We did kind of an interesting screw arrangement so we could do a really low profile Picatinny Weaver compatible base. And then obviously did the full Picatinny rail, and then some cool one piece, ring base combination sights, everything with MOA built in. So that was kind of a decision that maybe we've regretted a little bit, because you use one of our actions, you use our scope rings or our scope bases. Not a lot of aftermarket options there, but the action works really good. We're very pleased with it. Material wise, we did the stainless and titanium. We did a two-piece, a kind of a stripped down version of that a few years ago. So it was it's got a lug with some tabs on it that locks up without pins. We skipped the fluting, kind of kept it pretty simple, one plunger ejector, and we ended up with an action we were able to sell for like $850, I think, and kind of challenged all the action guys to meet us, and everybody did pretty quickly. So I like to think that we we challenged everybody to bring, a really competitive action to the marketplace, and it did a lot of good for all the small builders out there. But that's a pretty cool product. A lot of interest in integral rail stuff. So, we've got that same action body with an integral rail on its way. And so, again, we'll just keep optimizing and kind of tuning those up a little bit. But in general, I think actions are great as long as they work good, and if they work good, then that's cool. If you look at innovative stuff in our space, you got to go look at American Rifle Company and look at some of the products those guys kick out. Truly trying to create designs that are innovative or that draw on heritage from other stuff. And I really like those products, but the truth is if they feed and eject and mount everything squarely, that's really all an action needs to do.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say some incredible things about Ted over at ARC.
Yeah.
So,
like it.
Let's how elaborate can you get on your barrels, or should we go there? Can we
Sure,
can we
sure, jump in. Fine.
Let's just talk about it. Let's see what do you have in store? What's your plans? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, so we to further our control over our product, barrels is something that we've looked at for a long time. We've had some great partners in the past that we've worked with, but this last year it was time for us to make some changes so that we could grow and expand and react quicker. Here's a good example. We did a blaster skunkworks project this last month. I don't know if you saw that, but it was a fold-up pistol that had a 12-inch barrel on it, one of our cans, aluminum chassis, AR grip, etc., pistol brace, and we sold it with a tripod kit in a backpack in a cardboard tube. It was a really cool package. Sold out all of them real fast, but we developed that barrel and that barrel wrapping in days. Like we were able to say, this is what we want to do. Here's how we want to do it. We did the design, did the contouring, did everything, and then boom, here's this product. When you have the ability to manufacture in-house and capacity, right? I mean, time also is important, but you can be really, really responsive sometimes. Hope it'd be nice if it was all the time, but sometimes you can be really responsive and bring some new stuff quickly. And that was a good example. And the other thing that you get by controlling your manufacturing is you can say, hey, look, we know that if we run a little sloppy on our land or groove dimensions, that it'll still shoot good, and maybe it'll shoot a little faster, but if we tighten things up, then we can be even more consistent. And so we can experiment with some things and then land on where we want to be and then produce exactly what we want, and we can hold it as tight as we want to pay for. And then if you're dealing with a supplier, then you always have those issues of they kind of have their ideas about the way things should work and how much they want to spend controlling different aspects of quality. And so for us, getting control of that is probably the most significant step that we've made in our history. Even more so, I think, than a lot of the engineering capability and work that we've created or produced over the past 4 or 5 years.
So on your barrels that you plan on marketing here, are we going to be looking at stainless steel, carbon fiber wrapped, both? What are we looking at?
We can do any contour. We have our set contours. We have 3 carbon contours that we like to work with. There's a bunch of steel ones that we do, but for most of our customers, I mean, we're doing a lot of carbon. I mean, we're really, really, really high percentage of carbon in our company. So I see a lot of carbon stuff getting done.
Contours. Tell us about a lot of guys. I know I am. I like the shorter, heavier contour. What are you going to be working with on those?
Yeah. So basically, addressing a few of the things that we've experienced in the past, we wanted a contour that was tailored exactly to those 3 different stock platforms and personas that we've created. And so there's, call it a small, medium, large, or light, medium, heavy, whatever you want to call it. And so we've got those contours, but another thing that we've changed, which is a real pain in the ass in the manufacturing side, is the muzzle diameter stays constant at any length that you create the barrel. And so if you have a thread cap or a muzzle brake or muzzle device or whatever, you can expect a 20-inch or an 18-inch or 16-inch or a 24-inch. You'll have the same, muzzle diameter, the same OD. And so it makes your interface with all your other stuff a little easier. I mean, it makes the stock inletting more difficult. It makes the wrapping and grinding more difficult. It makes all this stuff more difficult, but it also, makes a pretty cool product.
Do you want to go into detail on like your what twist rate options you're going to have, what your riflings are groove wise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're doing 4 land and groove right now. That's kind of where we've landed. Some really interesting things we've found over the years with chambering and chamber tools and stuff that kind of drive us to make some of those decisions. Probably the hardest thing that we do as a manufacturer is we make guns that shoot our ammunition, not the other way around. So we don't make ammunition that shoots in our guns. That technically anybody can do that. You stuff a reamer in a barrel and you tailor a load that works in that system. It's like, great, perfect, done. But with our customers, they're able to come to us and buy ammo today that works in their gun from 5 years ago or vice versa. And that's a pretty big deal to be able to maintain that. And for our customers to expect that. Now, somebody that likes to wear out barrels, obviously, he's got some other challenges he's got to deal with. But guys that, use these firearms to hunt and to do a light recreational shooting, it's like that. Consistency's a really big thing. And so to do that, you almost can't just use, so-and-so's reamer spec, because different reamers cut differently. Different grinds or different serial numbers on reamers cut differently. And controlling that relationship to the chamber, shoulder, headspace dimension, right, to your throat, let's call your throat headspace or throat space, controlling that very, very closely is the key to keeping control of your manufacturing and production of those rifles that can shoot the same ammo, day in and day out. So we build several thousand rifles. Say we build 828 nozzlers. They all shoot the same load, period. Like, we don't tune the loads to get them to shoot good enough. Like, we will change the gun to make sure that it shoots the ammo. So back to the land and groove configuration, even numbers helps in a lot of respects, but in even land and groove configuration cuts a better chamber, period. And the way that we've broken up our chambering process and tools, and basically we're completely off the reservation. We don't use the SAMI style prints. We completely restructured our datum points, and we have custom tools that we've created, and it allows us complete control, and we get very, very consistent results. 5 land and groove stuff's pretty cool, and it's popular, but there's some big challenges when it comes to making kick-ass chambers in a production environment.
That's awesome. This is what we're after, information like this. So this is an awesome podcast, Aaron. Tons of information for us and our listeners, and we're at 38 minutes. If you got time, man, I've got a bunch more questions for you, if it's all right with you.
Keep them rolling, and then if I go a little bit long, you just tell me that we need to move on.
Man, we love it. We're eating this up. The more I'm hearing stuff that I really enjoy hearing. So say everything that you've developed, what it sounds to me like, and what I'm seeing with the GunWerks company. If anyone follows you guys on Instagram or Facebook, or you guys have an awesome YouTube channel too with the information, you guys are building a pretty intense facility.
Dude, we are literally, I hooked up a trailer tonight. It's going to Cody tomorrow. We're literally putting stuff on it tomorrow, and it's moving to the new building. It's on. We're about 3 months late on the construction. I'm not building it, so I'm not late, but we thought we would have been in already, but it's on next week. Machines are getting unplugged, shut down, moved over. So we're in the eye of the storm, or the calm before the storm, and it's going to happen.
Maybe you should have busted out the tool belt. Done it yourself.
So,
oh man.
But so let's real quick. When we went up there, you guys had a couple different, if I'm remembering right, manufacturing facilities. The one where we were at, and you were doing some stuff, and then we
had that manufacturing facility, 11,500 square feet, and then we had an office space.
Okay.
Sparsely populated. Sales and admin was over there, but it was about 3,500 square feet. And then we have a small little shop, a little clean room that does all the Revit stuff, and we've got our engineering office down in Austin, Texas. This new facility is 45,000 square feet. There's 100-yard, 3-bay shooting tunnel, or not tunnel, it's above ground, but inside of the building. That's how long it is. Like, it takes forever to go from one side to the other.
And what I get, so basically what you're planning on doing is you're going to be building everything in house. I mean, you're looking at your actions, your stocks, your barrels.
There's things that you need to do, right? And there's things that you would like to do, and there's things that actually create value for the customer. So what I have to be careful with is to make sure that I'm not just doing things that I want to do, and I look really closely and say, does this provide a value to my customer, whether it's cost savings, whether it's quality, etc. We used to outsource our rifle stock manufacturing, and when we did this Climber Magnus Gen 2 and Verdict stock, we also developed an entire stock manufacturing aspect of our business. So we have this entire composites department in the new facility. It's really, really awesome. Total clean room, separate environment. But those processes and things that we developed didn't save us any money. And so you say, well, what was the value to the customer? Well, we don't have to wait 12 months to get a stock. If we want this stock tomorrow, we can make it today. So that's cool, because our lead time last year, our average lead time on over 4 billion different engineered configurations of rifle systems, our average lead time was 48 days.
Wow.
Now, that's an average, and there's some guys that went a little longer, but in general, we delivered the goods. This year, that was pretty hot. That was hard to manage. Our inventory levels went up almost $2 million running that lead time. This year we've spec'd out 120 days, and we're doing really well on that. And it's a lot easier pace to manage. So if you look at that stock build out, we got faster turn times. The cost is the same, but we also got some quality stuff that was a little different. And we feel like we provided something that had some quality benefits to our customers. So there's some things that I would really like to do and just take on. But for example, a lot of our aluminum parts, we've made in our shop a lot of aluminum parts in the past. We don't do anodize. So we would make aluminum parts and then we'd ship them out to do anodize. And what we found, we've actually got 2 great strategic partners on aluminum parts that do anodize, and we found that we can't compete with them on price, and their quality is exceptional. Again, couldn't do better. And so that stuff is outside and maybe never even comes inside. So we have all the engineering, all the design, and then what we do is we do our quality management and supply chain management to ensure that we get everything that we need the way it's supposed to be. And I think that arrangement drives more value to the customer than just bringing it in-house. I mean, we've made the parts. We can make the parts. We actually have the machines there that could do the parts. But the better solution for our customer is sourcing those.
That makes sense.
I think the same thing goes for rifle scopes. A lot of people have so many misconceptions, and here we are at almost an hour, and we haven't even talked about the coolest shit.
And we're gonna.
But the same thing goes for rifle scopes. We could make a rifle scope. I have all the engineering capability. Our electromechanical designer has been in the industry for over 20 years. He's done some of the best scopes out there. We could do a rifle scope from scratch. We could do an optical design. We could do the mechanical design done. We could make it and assemble it right here in Cody, Wyoming. It would be awesome, but it would probably be $5,000. Right? There's no value for the customer there. So, we actually, our rifle scope stuff, a lot of our electro optics, that stuff gets built with an OEM partner. So we do design, we do sourcing, all that stuff, and manage supply chain. It's a really interesting, exciting business. And I'll tell you what, we're way bigger than most people understand.
Well, that opened my eyes when we went up there. We to be honest, we were working with US Optics. We've done some work just recently with Loophole, and that's what our goal was to, we tried to reach out to you guys regarding the optics side of things. And when we got there, I pretty much had a mind blown experience on what you guys did. Everything. Yeah. I mean, I knew what you did, but when we saw what you did, it was a completely different ball game.
Yeah. 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 It's pretty cool. Awesome team. Like, I don't do this stuff. My team does it. I try to keep a hold of the rudder and steer, but there's a lot of awesome people here. Here, another good example is suppressor parts. That's one where we kind of do a dual thing where we make them in-house, but we also have outsource. So it gives us some really flexible, production capacity. So generally, we can keep up, but if it's hot and heavy, it's like we can spool somebody up really quickly and increase our throughput significantly. So that's that. There's some strategy in how you make or buy and what you machine and what you don't.
That makes total sense. So while you broke the ice on that, let's talk about suppressors. We love that. We have a 6 and we have an 8. Go through the configuration of it, what it went into the design work, how you guys, all of it.
Think about what you're starting to get a sense of in our design ethos is we didn't say, hey, look, Thunder Beast has this, let's make one of those, or Silencer Co has this, or Q has this. We said, who is our customer? What product is this going to go on? What cartridges are we going to shoot? And let's make it as good as we can. And so we basically said we want to make a virtually indestructible precision rifle can that addresses some of the user interface challenges that we have with other manufacturers' products, that is good at sound suppression, and that has the size and signature, that fit different systems. So that 6 we run on a climber with a fatty carbon barrel at 18 or 20 inches long in 6.5 PRC or like a 7 SOM or a 7 LRM. That is a frickin' awesome mountain hunting rig, like absolutely stellar. Just it's the kind of gun that you touch and you feel and you shoot and you just never want to let out of your hands. It's literally perfect. And a big part of that is how that suppressor balances and works. So we did that can, that minimalist, hunter style can. And then we said, okay, and now we've got a precision rifle shooter, big long range rifle shooter, all that stuff. And so we did a can for that one. So we got 6-inch, 8-inch, 6-inch cans, 1.5-inch diameter, 8-inch cans, 1 3/4 diameter. And the things that were really important to me was, I think it's stupid to chase sound suppression. You want to optimize it, but you literally can measure it on one day and measure it the next day and get different numbers. And so the whole industry is full of these numbers that don't mean anything. The only way that you can do it is you test the same test, the different cans. And so every time we would shoot a configuration in our testing, we would literally shoot the 2 reference cans with it. So we had 2 other vendors, 2 other kind of reference standards that we would use. And when we would test a config, we would test against those. And on different days, they would give us different numbers. But the relative, performance was a better a more sure way to compare. So one of the things that we looked at was, hey, look, everybody makes these 308 and 223 cans, that are max is a 300 win at a 24-inch barrel, and we're like, screw that. I want to build a 16-inch 28 nozzler, and I want to shoot the hell out of it, and this can needs to hold up, right? So we optimized our cans for big, heavy thumpers. You want to shoot a 300 Norma? Do it. So it's a 30 cal can. You've got apertures in the front, so you can tune it for your caliber. You can actually pick up a couple dB going from, the 30 cal can. If you're shooting like a 6 millimeter or 6.5, you put a 6.5 or a 6 millimeter aperture, you can pick up a couple decibels of sound reduction by doing that. Got to be careful though, because you don't want to mix it up. But another thing that aperture does is you get a baffle strike, it's always on the front. It's a sacrificial piece, it's aluminum. So you trash it, you can just change it out yourself, put a new one in, it's easy. The other thing that we addressed was the suppressor mount. And, some guys got it, but some guys don't, where when you take the can off, the mount stays on the gun. That was like a mandatory requirement for me, because we turned a lot of cans into direct thread cans over the years. And this mount that we've created has the sealing in front of the threads. It has the right taper on it, and it works really, really good. Now, if it ever does get stuck, we built a hex, like a 3/8 hex inside of it. So again, you don't have to send this in to somebody to have it unscrewed. You just use some tools. You can do it yourself. Tools that you have in your garage right now. No special tools. We don't have to send our can out with any tools. They're in your shop already. So that was a couple usability things that we thought was really important. And we stress test this. We did the full auto mag dumps and all that stuff. You can't blow up the welds. I mean, it's absolutely robust. Now you can wear the hell out of your baffles by doing something like that. These aren't designed to be full auto cans. These are designed to be the reference standard precision rifle cans. $800 and $850. I think that 6-inch can was competitive with the Thunder Beast Ultra 7 for sound. We are 12.4 ounces. We're literally not even an ounce heavier than that titanium Ultra 7, and we get that absolute rock solid bulletproof toughness that you get out of that 17.4 pH baffles. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've got, like I said, we've got the 6 and the 8, and we're going to be doing reviews on them. I mean, we're going to just be basically going through everything that you just said and then shooting them. And of course, I agree 100% with what you said. It's the truth is what it is. You can't effectively measure or meter a suppressor up against another suppressor on any given day and expect the same results. Even on any different platform, you're looking at the same load data.
Yeah.
There's numbers out there, and that's what a lot of guys directly resort to. Or, hey, what's how many decibels am I going to get out of this thing in reduction? And I'm like, you know what? Sure, that is something you want to have a quiet can, but performance regarding precision is first and foremost.
Yeah. You know what? A couple of things that we did that I'm really proud of is if you go do on and off tests with this can, or, different cans on and off, or take that can to different guns or whatever, the POI shifts and on and off POI shift, it's really, really minimal. Like, it's literally, I'll go on a hunt where I'm going to shoot a really expensive animal or something, or do a lot of work to get there, and I'll show up with the can off. I'll put the can on, and I'll expect that next shot to be perfect at 963 yards. So I'm really pleased with the fundamentals of what those cans do. And I will tell you that we didn't optimize these for 6.5 Creedmoor and 308. We optimized them for 28 Nosler and 300 Rum. So they're designed to give you better sound suppression. And we beat the competition with the big magnums. When you switch to like the 308 or the 6.5 Creedmoors, we actually give up a dB or two.
I gotcha.
And it's funny to see how that baffle stack optimization for the big hunting magnums it's real. It actually made a product that it was optimized for those things.
That's interesting. So I think that we pretty much touched base on regarding everything on the suppressor. Let's Revix, man. Let's talk about, you're getting into your kind of an electro-optic style of setup, and we've got our hands on those, and I'm in love with them. The glass quality, with what's actually integrated into the optic. And we're going to be doing reviews on those too. I've had more than a handful of guys that I've just, forwarded on to my guy that works for you guys. And they just, they're like, man, I see that you guys running those in videos. What's it all about? So explain to us, run us through the ringer. You got the two different models, the mill,
Okay,
the
here is the, let's start at the top. Here's how I think people should correct for ballistics. I think you need to dial a turret and you need to hold for wind. I've been in, I'm talking about like hunting recreational, right? I'm not talking about people shooting back at you. That's different. I don't know anything about it and wouldn't propose to suggest what needs to be done there. I'm talking about hunting situations. There's not a lot of people that have been in more big game hunting situations and shot a precision rifle than I have. I mean, that's been my thing. So I'm speaking from that level of experience. So dial a turret for elevation, hold for wind. We've been doing ballistic turrets for a long time. We train thousands of people every year. I know what works for people who don't have a lot of time to become super experts. If they can push a button and get a range, dial a turret to that range, line up the crosshairs, pull the trigger, they can be really successful without having, a lot of expertise. So out of the box type performance. So we've been doing this for a long time. Our customers and the whole marketplace is getting so smart that what used to be the 600-700 yard type push became 1,000, became 1,200, and now I feel like we're pushing into the 1,400-1,500 yard range for what the leading guys can do in this space, and reasonably expect the type of ethical performance we're looking for in some situations. So you look at these guys and we want to stay in front of that, right? I mean, we're those guys. We're wanting to push the boundaries and we're wanting to be more successful in those hunts. So what we've done with the Revic is we've taken a ballistic computer and we've shoehorned it into that scope. We fitted it. We fitted the elevation turret with a position encoder, so you know what your dial is. We've put a micro display in there and a full weather station. So it measures everything, compass, it measures incline, pressure, temperature, and it knows where your turret's dialed. So if you program your ballistics, and we've developed a ballistic engine that can calculate your solution as fast as you can click the dial. The way it works is you range a target with your, rangefinder, your binos or whatever you've got. The target's 930 yards. You point your gun and look through the scope and you turn the turret to 930 yards and you pull the trigger and shoot. You can program a wind vector. If you put a wind vector in there, say a 10 o'clock wind at a 10 mile an hour wind at 2, then it will correct for aerodynamic jump. It'll correct for spin drift. It'll correct for headwind and tailwind. And the shooter has all the control while in the scope without breaking shooting position. So as a shooter, I was always waiting for the spotter. I was waiting for, he would give me the elevation. I was waiting for the wind. It's like, you're always waiting. You want more, you want it faster, you want it at your fingertips. And so what the Revic does is it gives the shooter 100% control. You're basically asking your spotter to give you that range and you can do everything else. And it's super fast. And it's on. So we can run Doppler files in the scope so that your curves are dead nuts. You want to cold bore something at 1,685. It's like it's got the capability to do it. If you can read the wind, the Revic will keep up with you.
And that's something that we've got really familiar with over the past year. As soon as we got them, we downloaded the app. We Bluetoothed all of our ballistic data, basically velocity, the temperature, the humidity, everything that we needed, and integrated it into the optic. And it takes, like you said, it's fast. It's a matter of seconds, and it uploads all of that content to your optic, and then you're done. You don't have to mess with it unless, like we did, we fine-tuned it. We'd run it out for our coyote rigs, we'd run the ballistics, depending on what round we were actually using, out to 400, but we realized how efficient it was by running a little bit heavier round and being able, we use that 6 Creed, for example. And this is your guys' your go-to SIG line, 1,000 yards out of the box, pretty much, right? I mean, we got the 6mm Creedmoor from you guys to test out, and it was set up from you guys how you do it, and I cranked the turret up to 800 done on an MOA plate. I mean, just from never shot it at 100, never messed around, dialed it up, shot. It was there. Of course, we do a little bit more detail with our work. We do a lot of reloading and stuff, but we wanted to see how it worked right out of the box. And, you go into a little more detail on the optic itself. There's a ton of different configurations. You got almost 10 different reticle colors you can choose from. You can move the heads up display up and down to cater to, basically your eye relief inside of it. Mm-hmm. And that's just, it's crazy. It's insane, the ingenuity and what you guys have put into that thing. And
hey, what did you think? What did you think about the user interface? I don't remember ever telling you how to run that scope.
I'm assuming I was, I'll be honest. I thought it was going to be overwhelming. I downloaded the Revic app and boom, I just went to basically, it's almost like a ballistic software app. You just put your profiles, you select your bullet, you put whatever your muzzle velocity is, your optic, as long as you have the Bluetooth on, it automatically syncs up with your phone and the Revic.
And the menu for you was easy to navigate. I
feel no, it was. Yeah, you just mess with it. You just mess with it and you're good.
That's exactly. I remember looking through it and someone going, "Geez, you can change the reticle
It was
colors."
Tyler.
And James goes, I go, "How do you do that?" And James goes, "Just mess with it. You mess with it. You figure it all out. You don't need to read anything. It's simple."
It's pretty intuitive. I'm pretty proud of my team and what we put together there as far as usability. So, and the Revic scope's not our first foray. I mean, that ballistic rangefinder was there, but that Revic was a huge project. I mean, it was a beast, and there's a lot of features on that just get overlooked. What do you guys think of that turret? The turret system, the toolless zero on that thing.
Oh, hell yeah. You just use a tip of your bullet. Oh, freaking, that's a win-win. It's about time somebody figures out something like that's something they actually use in the field. You would think that the guys that are honestly in, not just in the hunting industry, but in the tactical side of things, like you said, you have guys that are shooting back at you. If you were in a situation where you don't have to use tools other than what you've got in your pocket, hell, that's an awesome feature.
Yeah.
And I don't...
It's expensive, and I have a tendency to do really stupid, expensive things that the value's there for the customer, but unfortunately we don't quite have our product priced right. That scope should be $5,000. That stuff is labor intensive. It really is. The design effort that we put to put that scope together was just massive. It went from a 18-month project to a 5-year monster, and it's been a big deal for GunWerks.
I'm impressed with it. That's something that we love doing, is getting our hands behind a lot of different optics, and man, the features. What I want to do this summer is, I kind of want to pull my USO off my 338 Norma mag and run that mil Revic out to as far as I can peg it out, man. Mm-hmm. I mean,
what bullet are you running?
300 grain OTM, and I'm pushing it right around 2,900.
I can't remember if we've got a Doppler on that one or not. I'll double check and let you know. But if I've got a Doppler file, it would be pretty nice.
Or the 6.5 PRC, we've got a couple of those built. Put it on one of those.
Yeah, we've got some Doppler files on all the ELD match bullets. So anything that's a Hornady ELD match, we've got Dopplers on those. Those are good.
Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that. And so real quick on the scopes, when you guys were, this was probably 5-6 years ago. I saw a lot of it on commercials. You guys were working with Night Force, making custom turrets, bullet BDC turrets, basically. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was a precursor to what you're doing now with the Revic.
Yeah. Yeah, we still do the majority of our rifle systems get kitted out with a traditional optic and a BDC turret.
Somebody else's optic, you got a loophole?
We're a first focal plane company. That's one of those things where I feel like there's serious benefit to the customer, even though they don't realize it. And it's cost me a lot of pain and suffering to get that switch done. It took 2 years to do it. But basically, we're first focal plane. The Mark V Leopold product, in my opinion, offers a really, really nice niche in a tactical featured product that is also lightweight and hunting compatible. So we do tons of that 3.6 to 18 on like the climber systems with the locking turrets with, over 120 minutes of elevation. We did a cool reticle that's got a heavy post, so it works great at low power for hunters. That product is really cool. and we do the 5 to 25 as well. On the high end side, we're doing Collis. And Collis is, across the street from Swarovski owns them. Collis is actually the oldest scope manufacturer still in existence today. I mean, I remember seeing a picture of a scope that was made in 1910 that Collis had produced. But they've had a long history. They've had a lot of changes, and they basically turned into Swarovski's tactical side, so the green doesn't have to do anything black. So their first focal plane, you've got that really nice high-end, European style optic system with the nice big wide eye boxes. And they've got their own cool features like their parallaxes underneath the elevation turret and a few things like that. But their 5 ratio systems work really good for us, 3 to 18 and 5 to 25. And we do tons of that 5 to 25 on like the Magnus and Verdict type systems. So those 2 scopes, scope lines, scope families are the bulk of the GunWerks rifle systems right now.
Regarding real quick, and we'll get off the topic of the optic of the scopes. You on the Revic, you have the RX1, which is the mill reticle, and you have the RT1, which is the MOA reticle. And then you also said you have a custom reticle that you put in the loophole.
Mm-hmm. We do 3 reticles. We do a hunting reticle, we do kind of a tactical reticle, and then we do the competition. So RH1 is hunting, RT1 is tactical, and RX1 is, and those are all first generation of the competition reticle. And so the RH1 is pretty simple, just windage and post. The RT1 is just your traditional, left and right, minute of angle style. We never did a mill version of that. The RX1 actually has MOA and mill versions, so you can get the competition reticle in MOA or mill, and that's your Christmas tree style. We did do those Tremor 3 style, wind line in there. We actually enjoy the benefit of licensing that tech from Horus. So, but that's a pretty cool feature for, some fast, wind hold solutions. I don't know that it's got a lot of applicability. If you got the Revic on and you're running the display, you're using center anyways, but still it's there for different shot configurations. Or
I'm a big Horus fan. I've got a bunch of, we all do have a bunch of H59s, and I love that for like you said, I'm a big believer in dial up for your come up and hold for wind, and being able to make your calls on a Christmas tree style reticle when you're just out having fun shooting or hunting I really think it's a benefit. But that's something that we asked you too. It was funny. We were starting to laugh when we went up there, and you showed us the reticles when we went up there, and I'm like, how does that work with Horus? And you guys were kind of getting a kick out of it. And
we got real smart, and we looked at the patents and said, you know what, there's a way to navigate around this patent and get a similar feature. So we put some lines in and went to town. But they did the same thing that I do. They had a continuation application that was not published that we didn't see. And what that means is it allows you to improve on your claims and basically keep that patent alive. And we do that all the time. We have tons of patents, and we have a ton of strategy that has a keep alive strategy. But that thing came out and published, and it literally encompassed what we did. And so, like, we weren't going to fight with them. It was fair game, right? It was inside the rules, and so we do license that feature from them.
I got you. While we're on the topic of kind of optics, what do you guys have for LRFs? Like, what's some of the other options that you guys have that you've had out to the market? Like you said, you have like a G7 line.
Mm-hmm. And that BR 2500 is kind of the latest version. It runs a 0.5 mil tall, 1.5 mil wide laser beam. It runs our target discrimination tech that really lets you pick out ranges in hunting conditions, sagebrush, rolling hills, low light, fog, rain, etc. In my opinion, better than anything else on the market. You take these class 1 lasers, with small receive lenses, and pump them full of juice, turn them into, class 3 stuff, you can get some good ranges. But as soon as you start getting a bunch of noise from, either obstructions, moisture, rain, snow, or whatever, sunlight, etc., like you'll fail. And the ones that just send out burst packets and then, come back, they're not able to pull ranges out of, tough conditions like August antelope in the sagebrush and in midday with mirage and, near and far conditions. So we tuned our laser to run, good measurement off of animal hide, close to the ground where you have all that scatter and all that noise that shows up, hence our kind of that really wide, flat laser beam that we do. And it wins. It's twice or 3 times as big as some of these small ones, and it's not as fast in the way that it ranges, but man, it'll dig up a number when you really need it.
And what's your?
I use a bino with a rangefinder.
Yep.
I like the Zeiss ones. They work good for me.
You're talking the laser rangefinder binos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that little Vortex one that same as the SIG, same as a couple of those other guys. Yep. That thing's pretty cool. Glass sucks, but if it's quick and dirty and mostly just range work, that thing's a lot of bang for the buck.
And that's what I was just going to ask you. I'm a big, man, especially for what we do, I've got the HDB 3. Well, John's got the HDB 3000s, and like just being able to have decent, well, those have good glass. The Swarovski ELs that have the integrated rangefinder, they have top quality glass, the option to range, and for us being able to glass in low light conditions, just you trying to nitpick stuff in the tall grass or the pines wherever we are, and be able to have the accessibility and capability to range in the same unit without having to have a handheld rangefinder somewhere else. That's for me.
I as much as I like the range finding binos, I always have that BR 2500 in my pack, because sooner or later there's something that I can't range with those binos and I have to go get that.
So how far are you saying you consistently hit? I mean, not just the animal target, like what would you say a tree on a good day, on decent day, or like a side hill?
You know what? That's even worse than the sound suppression thing that we talked about.
I do it all the time, though. I've got my binos, and I'm just seeing how far I can nail stuff. Do
you mean with the Zeiss or with that B2500?
Yeah, I'm just saying to compare that way. I would say most of the time I'm able to get the ranges that I want with any of those products. But, I would say when they're failing, more than half the time, I can go get the range with the 2500.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was the, real quick again, what was the dimensions of that laser? 0.5 mil?
0.5 mil tall by 1.5 mil wide.
Gotcha. Okay. We might have to try to get our hands on one of those, man, and run
this. And the idea is, it's like, you don't really want it a lot smaller, but what you want is a really, really hard bottom edge.
Yeah.
And I run a nearest mode calculation. And what our rangefinder does is you press that button and you hold it up to 5 seconds, and it sends out multiple packets, and it takes all that data and it mathematically combines those different data packets and gets rid of the noise and makes the target stand out. And it literally, you put that hard edge, bottom of the belly on an antelope, and even though there's all this grass and stuff that's just 4 or 5 inches away from it, you won't pick up on it.
Wow.
And you'll be able to sit there and just pull that range right out of there, where these other guys that are either trying really small reticles, or they have a vertically oriented reticle, or the big large round ones. It's like they're going to give you fits all day, because you're just going to be picking up, miscellaneous stuff around the fringes, and it'll fail. They won't be able to get a good range for you.
I can see that. So what are some of the other things that you guys have going on that you might be able to talk about regarding products that aren't guns or optics?
So we've got a new ballistic calculator coming later this summer. This whole international business has just been hammered by this global pandemic thing. So there's a bunch of products that are actually behind. I think Revic has 8 new products that will probably be out by next January.
No touching base on those yet.
Dropped his phone in his cereal.
not in the cereal, not in the cereal.
So you touch base on any of those, or are we no go on that?
So the ballistic calculator one that we've teased, there's some scope products, some without smarts. So a couple cool things coming. I don't know if you just saw this, but we just launched a new open site.
Yeah, I saw that for the muzzle loader.
Dude, it's so cool. Now the product's cool. You get basically 32 minutes in one turn running an open sight, not an open sight, a peep sight. And then we've got a front sight that's with it, but literally a click is a quarter minute. It's so awesome.
I don't know anything about muzzle loaders. What's that get you, like exactly. 400 yards?
Yeah, what
500-600 yards, man.
That's awesome.
And you can smash all day long with that thing. But it's cool. But what's really cool about it is it's got our new click technologies. And the click technologies are, in my opinion, it made the best click out of any product I've ever felt anywhere. And it's something that I've been chasing for almost 15 years. Most of the guys that are doing scope products now, they just take engineering that their supplier creates, and they just put a cosmetic change to the product, right? So they just make it look like theirs. If you peel back the layers, what's inside is basically that's the tech that they make over there all the time. And a lot of the click technology, it works, but it's really basic, and the material science is not there. So you end up with brass, and you have ball pin plungers and springs that are maybe overstressed a little bit. I literally am so excited about something that's just nobody even cares about, but it's the slipperiest, firmest click anywhere, and I just love it. So that little product actually has kind of like the leading edge for some new click technology that will show up in a lot of the new scope products in the future. So
that's really cool. I know that I care about that. Well, I might not care about it, but I'm definitely interested by it.
You'll notice when you touch it. It's going to blow your mind.
So
it'll let us do things like have 40 minutes in a turn and still have awesome clicks.
So do you guys have do you guys have a pretty big customer base for muzzle loaders? I mean,
it's pretty big, and I'll tell you how you know how big it is because Bergera's chasing us, GA Precision is chasing, all these other guys that have traditionally been out of that space are like they're into it.
Into the muzzle loading.
Yeah.
I haven't even paid attention to that. So, and it's a good deal. I mean, it's opening up, I think, because it allows a lot of guys to be more successful at draws. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just archery. You can almost draw a tag anywhere if you apply.
Yep.
How do you do ammo for that?
We do the load, and then we share that load with the customer.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's pretty much the same for every muzzleloader. So it's the load varies because of lots of powder.
So that's awesome. That would be let's jump again. GunWerks. What is it?
GunWerks it's pretty cool. So GunWerks makes 4 billion different combinations of rifle, but literally you don't get a color outside the lines. Like you're bounded by those options. GunWerks is what allows us to basically say, hey, here's this cool product we want to do, and we don't have the engineering resource to like develop this new thing. Let's go to the marketplace. Let's bring somebody in like this, that blaster product. We went to Black Collar Arms and did a pistol chassis with those guys. We did the barrel and all that other stuff, but literally went outside of our company and built a platform on one of those. We did one last year that was the fire starter. The goal was like an entry level high performance competitive rig. So we did a whole kit with a scope that was around $4,000. So MPA chassis, GRB action, Vortex, PST Gen 2. So it was a turnkey kit, and all we really did was supply the action on it and put it together. So I guess the GunWerks is a lot more like that gun builder down the way, where he can kind of do whatever he wants. It's just we pick out these special projects, and we've got a half dozen lined out, and probably every other month or so, we'll have a GunWerks project that we'll be able to launch, and usually we do them as limited runs, And so there's only a handful available, and the market screams for it, then maybe we do some engineering and, make something, similar that's engineered and becomes a mainline product. But it's a little bit of a market research, a little bit of a promotional wing, but it's what it really is. It's the flexibility to go out and build whatever cool product is that we want to do.
And fun, something for you to just go wild with.
Yep.
That's cool. That's really interesting.
For example, one we've been working on right now is a total ELR, lightweight ELR build. And so KRG did that Habu chassis a couple years ago, like magnesium, super lightweight chassis. And we've been trying to, sort out, that product for, a limited run build where we run like a 7-35 Mark V Leopold and a couple other products that let us run this ELR gun that's just stupid lightweight.
What is that, a 370? Don't you have some pictures on Instagram? What are you running, a 30? Is that a 408 Shites at 375?
That the hammer product that you're
there
talking
you
about.
go. That's what I'm seeing. That's what
that thing's heavy. It's cool. It's awesome. But it's yeah, that's a cool product. But no, I'm talking about something that's just totally different. So that's the kind of things that we're building on the GunWerks side.
Okay, that's cool. A hammer, might as well. That's an ELR platform that's that you guys manufacture, that's available to build on your website.
Yeah, we basically put our barreled action into a Cadex adjustable chassis.
I got you.
At 375 Chi-Tech, it's pretty awesome.
How far have you taken it? How far have you guys taken it out? I mean,
3,000.
Oh,
I mean that's a 2 mile product.
So I've shot my 338 Norma Mag out to 2050, and I don't know, John was with me, and I think it took me about 15 rounds to kind of walk it up. My optic was pegged out, and I had a 34 millimeter tube, so it had a lot of juice, and then I was actually holding like another 11 minutes in the reticle, or it might have been 11
Yeah, that's
mils.
what you're gonna run. You're gonna run out of elevation. That's just gonna happen.
Walk us through what you're on your platform, what you're doing to get there, so guys know and understand how
you want to shoot that far. You either have to have a really extreme base and a scope that has a lot of adjustment.
40. What are you running, a 40 degree?
Yep. But you can also throw one of those little periscopes on there. Those
from TACCOM.
Those tacos.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's kind of the easy way to get all the way out there.
And then you got to have the round to do it. And do you guys offer that round? I mean, do you guys actually?
So we have that one load for 375 Chi-Tac. It's pretty cool. I will admit, it's not my game, so I can't really give you a lot of the details on that product. But it's running a cutting edge. I think it's a 400 grainer. I mean, it's really cool, and it goes a long ways. But
is that the laser?
Dude, I can't even tell you. We start getting into nerdy stuff like that. We got to get a hold of Mike Davidson and get that detail out of him.
So taking the next step, what do you guys offer? What do you do for classes? What run us through the ringer on what you guys offer from start to finish,
so
different phases.
One of the coolest things that we've got going for us right now is the nerdy tech science that you're going to get from me in a structured classroom format, mixed with kind of that fundamental rifleman topic of marksmanship that you're going to get out of Phil Vallejo. And Phil has been with us for a few years. He is a really great instructor, and we've got Ben Downing. Both of those guys came out of the Marine Corps. They both were instructed at their sniper school. They're really cool cats, and they know a lot. And I think you to get the minutia, because I actually really don't care about the little details of marksmanship. It's like, I'm just going to throw the gun down, put the crosshairs on, and shoot. And Phil gets really nerdy about it. I literally learned how to run a bolt by just sitting in there and picking up some things out of that class. So that's really cool to mix that level of attention on that topic with the really advanced, science that's packaged in a really cool digestible format about external, internal, and terminal ballistics. And that's kind of where, our traditional GunWerks, position is. So it's pretty cool. And we've been kind of merging those philosophies and schools of thought for a couple of years now.
So that's what you get kind of that's an overall summary of what you get with your classes, but you break it down even further. You have like a different phase.
Yeah, you can spend 2 days with us on a level 1, get kind of some fundamental stuff out of the way. You can come do level 2, and then we can put you in the field for a 1-day level 3. So you can spend 5 days with us training, or you can just take it in pieces, or you can do it every year or whatever. And then we do all sorts of cool other events. Like we've got level 4 stuff where we're up in the mountains, or we're down in Texas, or we'll throw an antelope hunt on it, or out at, or, whatever. Tons of cool opportunities for, different experiences and events. So you make it through the class. If you haven't been for a couple of years, it's like come back, because it's going to be all new and fresh, and it'll be different. And so we try to keep the curriculum, cutting edge. Like right now, you'll do between level 1 and 3, you'll get exposed to like basic through advanced scope tech. Like by the time you're done, you've been exposed to the most cutting edge, optics and ballistic methodologies that exist.
And when you do that, do guys bring their own guns or shoot yours, or do you want them to shoot a GunWerks?
You can bring your gun and shoot it after class, but when you're in class, you shoot one of ours. It's just convenient. They're all suppressed. The data's done. That we're there to teach you about long range, how to shoot, how to understand it, how to trajectory validate, how to everything. We're not there to unfuck your rifle. And that happens every single time you do a bring your own gun class. Is you spend the whole time sorting out the stuff.
Yeah,
not saying every other gun is problem, but it's like there's just a little more control there. But what we like to do is, the guy wants to bring his gun, we'll kick it out after class. We can apply all that same cool stuff that we learned, validate trajectory, zero, all that stuff, make sure everything's working good. It's like guys do that all the time.
Yeah, I guess I can understand that. If you have one guy where something's wrong, that screws up everybody's day.
Dude, six guys shooting, and one guy brings his 300 Ultra with a freaking APA bastard brake on it. Geez. Inside the building there, shooting out there, it's like it's not polite. Where if you're running 6.5 Creedmoor training guns with 8-inch GunWerks suppressors, dude, a lot of ammo gets shot and in a really nice environment.
So if a guy wanted to do a class, like say for example, there's some listeners out there, we talked about it even too. We had a few guys that wanted to get into it. If a guy wanted to do a class or put on a class or host one, I should say, what's your what's your quota? What do you have to have? How many guys do you have to have? What are you looking at for a price point, for a minimum?
You're gonna spend $1,200 a day to come do it in our facility. So you can imagine we're gonna have some costs to go somewhere else. I think like our Texas class, I think not $1,200 a day, $1,200 for a 2-day class. Our Texas class is like another $500 or $600, and we usually do about 50 people when we're down there. We just do a couple weeks worth. And so it spreads the cost of mobilization over a lot of guys. I would say you got to have a 10 to 12 person deal. If it's 8, you're going to be paying a little more per head. And we can tailor some custom stuff. Our season lasts from May to October here. And then we hit November through, February. It's like we got to go to Arizona and Texas and Florida and go hit some of those places. So we're a little bit more inclined to travel at those seasons. We run classes literally every week up here, so we're real busy in the summer. We do have 2 full-time instructors, but I mean we usually have 3 to 4 people on the line, when we're doing our 12-man training. So it's a pretty big operation, pretty big mobilization to handle it. We can tailor some stuff, so if you're interested, always just call, ask, and we'll see what we can do.
I got you. No, that's interesting. Hey, talking about traveling and shooting, who are you shooting with this last weekend?
So there's a really cool old timey club called the Campfire Club, and it kind of got started by a gentleman named Hornady, Hornaday with AY, um, and it was kind of a little offshoot of some Boone and Crockett stuff, but there's 400 plus members, and they're kind of like manly outdoorsmen, sporting, hunting, camping types. It was a really, really fun crowd. I mean, there was a couple guys. We had the guy that does the flip flop, the deer cook out. That was pretty cool. We had the field hunting ethos. Jason was there. Um, it was pretty fun. I had a good time.
Did I was watching your guys' Instagram, and wasn't Trump Jr. shooting with you? How long ago was that? Was that 2 weeks ago?
No, that was last weekend. That was his event. He put it on.
That's how have you met him before?
Yeah.
He's just a strong guy for the industry. For the I mean, it's awesome to have a guy like that on.
Dude, I don't think anybody has any clue how gun and hunting nuts those brothers are. You
And he's talking about Donald Trump Jr.
Eric chambers his own guns. Eric's been building his own guns forever. It's like they're not like newcomers. They're hardcore, competitive shooter, world traveling hunter. It's pretty cool to be around them. I mean, they're into it.
That's awesome. I saw that on your guys' Instagram, and I thought I'd have to ask about that for sure. It's really cool to see guys like that of that stature that are that outspoken and support guys like you and our lifestyle and our traditions. That's what it's all about. We have to have guys like that.
I've noticed Donald Trump Jr. do a really, really good job of sharing his reach and popularity with a lot of the smaller, companies in our space. Like he just does a really good job of sharing the love, so to speak.
Good for him. That's awesome. Man, this has been awesome chat, Aaron, of info-filled podcast. So what we'd be looking at if guys were interested in taking a look at some of your stuff, what are we looking at? You can go to your website. You can basically configure a custom rifle how you want it with a few limitations out of the billion options that you could have. What are we looking at for? Because here's the thing, man. You get so many guys that get all butthurt at cost, at price, period. You're not getting around. You guys, what the hell am I going to buy an $8,000, a $10,000? Well, they're not factoring in a $3,000 optic, possibly.
Yeah.
Go into
It's okay. It's okay. I mean, there's space for everybody, and the people that know, they know. I mean, the people that know that buy a gun and 5 years down the road, horse breaks a stock, and we take care of them, no questions asked. The people that are on the mountain and have a problem, and they call us up and we give them some wind dope and help them kill a big old buck. The people that know, they know it's not just about buying a barrel and an action and a stock. It's way more than that. And so we'll bring those guys in. But if you want to just go gun only, like a fiberglass stainless steel, $4,000 is where it starts.
Just that's a standard. I mean, that's competitive with anybody out there.
Yeah. A lot of guys don't realize, what excise tax does to us. And I wish we all just started pricing it on the bottom line so everybody could see it. But there's an 11% excise tax that gets dinged on one of those systems.
And is it the excise tax, real quick, is applicable to somebody that is it more than 50 units of a certain build? That's when it hammers you.
Yeah, if you're manufacturing more than 50 guns. So a lot of the small shops, they'll get around it by, guy supplies his own action. That's not a manufactured build, or at least that's in the gray area, and so they're not paying excise tax. So you get these small shops, and they say, well, yeah, I can buy this action and this stock and this barrel, and I can have it chambered for $300, and now I've got this gun and it's cheap. But you don't have somebody that's delivering a turnkey system, so that's a big deal. You don't have anybody that's standing behind the product. as far as the, hey, do you need something? Can I support you? So there's some, benefit to dealing with a company that has 60 employees in it and, 10 people that you can call anytime on the phone. But those small shops do really cool stuff. And, if that's the way you want to do it, it's like freaking awesome. It's like buy a Magnus rifle stock from us.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's awesome with what you're doing. And we work with a lot of guys in the small, we still do, if I have and we're going to have some of those guys on, and it's all about, I mean, there's competition, there's nothing wrong with it. It's awesome. But, it gets to a cutthroat industry where guys starting to gripe at each other, but man, we need to kind of hang together, especially in this point in time with what the hell's going on. And there needs to be more support for
bottom line is the poor small shop guys are the ones that are just cutting each other's throats. If you've designed, like I've spent way over $4 million in the last few years on R&D, engineering, new product development, et cetera. It's like, if you take a look at that type of R&D spend and the products that we develop and bring to the marketplace, it's like, we don't really compete with the small guys. They compete with each other. They do take business from us that could come our way, but eventually what's going to happen is all the guns that are out there are going to get bolted together by the customer, just like ARs. Like we're only a couple years away from that.
Yep.
And the small precision builders, if they haven't innovated and created new products, then they're out. They're done.
I could see that. I can completely understand what you're saying. And I mean, with that said, leading us into what I'd say, the last question for you, Aaron, we're at over an hour and a half, this has been freaking awesome content for these guys. If somebody's looking for a gun and they can go to your website, they can basically fabricate the whole rifle how they want it. How are you going to sell a gun to these guys? Who's your customer base? Who are you marketing to? For the guys that are listening to us, that hear us, talk about the amount of elk that we kill every year. We're deer hunters, we're antelope hunters. We smash the coyotes every winter for their fur, and we're just avid outdoorsmen. It's what we love to do. We shoot all summer long. We send a ton of rounds downrange. The guys that are listening to us, how do you market to them? What do they, if they want? Why should they buy a gun from you?
I think that buying a gun from GunWerks is really comparable to buying a car. And there's tons of cars out there that get the job done. But there are types of people who appreciate the small difference, that 10 or 15% difference between, the workhorse Toyota and maybe the new C8 Corvette, or the big Mercedes, or different product, right? It's like those little touches that make it better. Guess what? They both drive down the road at 65 miles an hour. They both run the speed limit. So if guys are just saying, well, I'm buying this gun because it shoots a half-minute group, and why would I spend 3 times as much to buy a gun that just shoots a half-minute group? It's like, well, it's not just about the group size. So the customers that come to us, they're either really busy and their time is really expensive, and so they let us do those services for them. Okay, that's one customer. But I really think it's the customer that likes a tested product that has absolute backing and performance guarantees, right? Anytime, any place, anywhere, we got your back. That recognizes those details, the difference between the Toyota Corolla and the big Mercedes, the comfort, the touch points, the little extra performance enhancements, the way the recoil signature works, just even things like the way we control spin up torque on a barrel, our ability to handle big cartridges, light rifles, and still give that consistent performance. It's the guns that people trust when there's a $500,000 sheep tag on the line. It's like that's the guys that we pull in. And the guys that just want to bolt a barreled action in a chassis, that are, shooting matches and wearing out barrels every weekend. It's like, that's a different guy. And maybe we can sell him some parts and rangefinders or scopes or something, but that might not be the rifle guy for us.
Makes complete sense. Makes complete sense. Aaron, we appreciate the time that you've taken, man. It's been like I said, this is just something that gets me all jacked up. I love to sit and listen to guys like you. We had Doug Milton at SRT Arms, the CEO there. He's an engineer as well. You guys have a different kind of mindset, and it's intriguing as hell for us to be able to.
It's cool when a company's run by an engineer instead of a marketing dude.
There you
or
go.
a business guy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes we nerd out, and the customer gets the benefit of bad business decisions.
Exactly. Hey, how open would you be to doing like another podcast later on where, like, I'm assuming you're very intelligent and have a knowledge.
That's a good
base.
assumption, James. That's a good assumption.
Without
he's only spent $4 million on R&D in the last 4 years.
Now, hold on a second. That actually is an indication of my stupidity. So, sorry.
Let me rephrase that then. So, what, like, regarding ballistics, load development, stuff like that, is that something that you have a lot of?
I have some great opinions. Ballistics, I think I can give you guys some really cool stuff, and I think there's some exciting directions that our industry's taking. You might be disappointed in my load development theories, because I think it's kind of like neck turning. There's a lot of shit going on that doesn't have any value.
Well, let's try and we'll write a whole bunch of questions down, and hopefully you can answer them. And then if we miss something that you'd like to talk about, let's set it up for another podcast and see if we can't knock something out again.
You bet, buddy.
Going down a little bit further.
Let me know when.
Hell yeah, man. Awesome, Aaron. I appreciate like I said, the time and the information that you've brought to the table for us, and for the guys that like to listen to us. We think that you have an awesome product out there. We've been really, I should say, we appreciate being able to work with you guys. It means a lot from our end, being able to work with a company that's high end as yours. It's awesome, and it's a very fortunate situation that we're in to be able to do that.
I appreciate that, James, and the same compliments back to you guys. I love being around killers.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. We try to be. We try as hard as we can, and you stay safe over there, buddy. We'll keep in touch, and once again, we appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Take care, buddy. That was awesome. That was freaking awesome. There was a ton of information there. We're at 141 minutes. That's something like the SRT Arms podcast that we did, where, Doug broke it down and went into detail on everything. It's
there's too much information to take in. You can't get over it all.
Which is, we might have another one coming on hot here.
You call it back?
Maybe, yeah. Aaron, what's up, dude?
Yeah. I had my phone in the fridge, and maybe the fridge blocked out the cell signal.
For what?
You put it back with the milk from a cereal.
No, I'm trying to find some dinner to eat. That was just a snack.
So we thought you were calling to you maybe forgot something that you mentioned that you didn't mention.
I just hung up. Are we good to go?
We're good, dude.
Okay,
you too. Have a good evening and take care over there.
Bye.
Yep, later.
No, I was going to ask him about load development, and then he said that he builds the guns around the load, and I'm like, all right. Well,
I had that written down too, but that's why I wrote that down right off the bat. I'm like, let's do a podcast on ballistics and load development, because there's a man, you guys, that's a lot of solid information out there. Like I said, what our goal here is to bring subject matter experts, and that's what these guys are. I mean, that's what they do. That's what they live. They designed, when we went up there, he told us the amount of hours that the engineers, the guys that designed these stocks, the Climber, the Magnus, the Verdict did. And, we're going to try to get Manners on. John and I were talking, we'll get Chad at LRI on. Each one of these guys have a similar but completely different mindset, if you can understand that. I mean, here's the thing. In this day and age, guys, if you don't believe it, you should start trusting in it, because if we don't all hang together, in the end, we'll hang apart. And there was a lot of you guys that follow GunWerks and know what's going on. Aaron had there's no reason to ask him about it on this. We wanted to get information out there. There was a deal with Wells Fargo once again with them, and he made a public statement. All I can say is go search it out and listen to his video. He's a well thought out, very reputable guy with solid credentials from everybody that I've talked to. And the main thing that guys have issues with is the cost. It's the price of the rifles. But like you said, if you want to get into a custom rifle, you can start around $4,000. You can work your way up from there. And most of their high-end rifles are catered to guys that he said don't have time. They want to have the opportunity or the capability to shoulder a rifle, dial to 600, 800 yards, and make an easy shot. And those are easy shots with these kind of systems. It might be hard for you to kind of understand, but if you shoot a lot, being able to do what we did, how we talked about the Revic, how you can upload all of your dope and data into that optic and be able to consistently hit sub MOA targets at a range, it's 100% doable to the average guy if you can sit behind the rifle and pull the trigger.
I've never understood people bitching about price, because 90% of the time they're driving a $60,000 car when a $16,000 car would do the job, or using a $1,200 phone when a $400 phone would work. But they'd want to bitch about the price on a gun. I don't get it.
Well, it all depends on, I mean, I can see it. I try to sit back and look at different angles. It's usually kind of what you said. The guys that's complaining about a gun takes a $10,000 or a $20,000 bass boat or camper, every weekend to the park or to the river. And it's where you want to place your money. It's where you want to invest it. Some guys have different lifestyles, period. I mean, like Aaron said, we're after the guys that have a $50,000, $100,000 hunt. And I'll tell you what, we've done it here with elk hunters. Last year, we've probably said this before, the fellow that shot a trophy bull here, he had a factory over-the-counter rifle, and he had a 200-yard max effective range to his capabilities. Okay, he said, man, 300 yards, I could probably do it. 200 yards, I know I can do it. And I'm like, would you feel comfortable shooting my rifle? And like I said, sorry if I'm redundant, guys, but this is what happened. We got the 338 Norma Mag out. We proned out. I've got the load development worked out. I know what the dope is on any given day. Temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, elevated, everything. I've got it all written down. I've got it all integrated into a ballistics program. A Trimble Nomad, with a Vector 4 rangefinder. It ranges to the 10th of a yard. How precise do you want to get? Hand load every single round with a round that's got like a G7 BC of freaking 6.6. Maybe I'm a little bit over on that, but it's crazy. We're eliminating as many variables as we can by a guy that wants to use a rifle system that extends his range from 200 yards to a half a mile is a force multiplier that probably most guys will never understand. And we walked a hunter through it last year, a 65-year-old guy that had a once-in-a-lifetime elk tag, has been applying for 18 years, and there was no way we would have ever got his tag filled with his system, ever. But what did we do? I carried the rifle for him. We laid down out here on our range. John set a target out there. There was one at 800 yards, and then there was one at 1,150. He nailed both of them within his first 2 shots. I dialed it. He shot, he nailed it. Excuse me. We knew that he could pull the trigger. The main thing is if the guy can pull the trigger and has proper fundamentals, and the guy knew how to shoot, he knew how to hunt. He just didn't have the capability with his options. He just wasn't an avid long-range shooter. So we extended that for him. We maximized his capabilities, and he ended up shooting his elk at I want to say 500 yards. I'm pretty sure it was right around 500 yards, which is a walk in the park for the Norma. You don't even take that thing out till you're shooting over 800. But on elk, it's a little bit different story. They're a tough animal. So for those of you guys that I can completely agree, you guys watch us do predator hunts, okay? You watch us coyote hunt. Why in the hell do I want to have a $4,000? There's a lot of guys out there that drop $4,000 on coyote hunting equipment nowadays. Easy. It's crazy. Then you want to talk about thermal and night vision, which we're going to next podcast. We got Tyler Adair coming up, which is going to be boom. That guy's a freaking awesome guy to work with.
I still think we need to record that through a thermal or night vision.
We probably will. You shouldn't have said it. No, we will. But so that's what the guys, we're not bad mouthing guys that don't want to invest the money. That's fine, man. Like I said earlier, there was a lot of guys out there that badmouth other companies. They do. And I get it. You know, if you're a GM dealer on one side of the street and you're a Ford dealer on the other, sure. Why is my product better than yours? There's room for competition. But guys, with the shit show that we've got going on here, man, the comments that we're seeing from other guys, if somebody is a snake oil salesman, we'll call them out. We will. You know, if somebody's just taking your money for no reason, 100%, there's room to go, you know what, this isn't right. But
you don't need to shit on someone just to sell your product.
Exactly. And that's what's happening. Guys are just, I mean, it's a cutthroat thing. Like we said, there's nothing wrong with it. But in this day and age, man, we guys that are similarly like-minded like us, hunters, shooters, outdoorsmen, sportsmen, it's really easy to get jealous. It's really easy to wish somebody to go down the wrong way because of jealousy, because you don't like what they do, because you can't afford it, because it's not within your reach. That doesn't mean that you should disagree with them to such an extent that you hope that they fail. I mean, they'll fail themselves if they can't do it right. But man, in this day and age, like I said, with everything that's going on, the whole shit show that's going on, we got to hang together. You know, we have to hang together, because in the end, we will hang apart if we don't. That's not my saying, but that's 100% the truth of what will happen. So, you know, rant over. We had Aaron on. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We went over a ton of information. I'm working on a series of reviews right now on custom rifles. Everybody from LRI that fabricated them to Travis Stevens that fabricated a couple to our GunWerks exclusives that we have built, and equipment from Ultimate Night Vision that we're gearing them with for night hunting. So we've got a bunch of video reviews that we're going to be putting together. Podcasts are awesome content, man. We get jacked up. Like I said, we were a little bit strapped for time here. John and I had to go to an elk meeting. We could go into detail about that. We'll probably do a podcast on that sometime.
That'd be a cool one to do.
Just and go over in detail about guys that just crazy ass stories, because there's a lot of them. A lot of them. No names. Guys might know who we're talking about, but no one will ever know who you are. But they're freaking crazy, fun, stupid stories. And like at the meeting, what we were talking about, it's a massive depredation occurrence. Landowners are pretty upset with the state, and they want to be able to gain access to easier elk tags for personal use, which, like I said, I agree with all of the landowners, and you know, the sportsmen are going to complain about it because they have tags. The fact of the matter is, what we're doing here is we're scrutinizing a lot of the hunters, because the elk need to be killed. I mean, we killed like 30 of them here last year. I told John on the way home our goal is 50 this year, and we can do it, but we have to have the shooter's mindset behind them. They have to be able to pull the trigger. Yeah. They have to be able to what we're going to do is we get a lot of people that are, you can just tell they may not be athletic. They may not be able to shoot a gun. We are setting each hunter out that stays here, that wants to hunt our ground, and they are shooting groups.
And they have to have equipment that can do it. I mean, you don't have to have $1,000, $10,000 setup, whatever, but your equipment has to be capable of it.
And like this season, the early season, the depredation season, most of the shots are going to be closer range for guys. They've just got to be able to sit it out and wait it out. But then again, that kind of goes back into, we should just do we'll just do a whole separate podcast on that, because like that goes back into, we have a guy out here that might have a group of guys with 3 tags, and they sit there for 3 days, 4 days, and they don't see an elk, or they do, but it's out of range for them. And then day 5, after they leave, we're out in the same field, and boom, an elk walks out right in front of us. That's what a lot of these landowners are like, you know what, man? And they're right. They're right. We know where the elk are. We see them more than anybody else. We have had awesome success with the elk hunters, with the sportsmen that are here, but there's still room for more to be killed. And by allowing us to do it, guys like us that shoot a lot, that hunt a lot, that can do it discreetly and still give away the meat or fill somebody's tag. That's what a lot of the meeting was about. So it was actually a pretty heated discussion, to tell you the truth. And so we had that meeting for an hour. We had to cut it short. We left. We got back here. We had to set that camera up. We had to set that camera up right there. We had to get the freaking SD mini card wiped because John loaded 5 trucks today, and I was out bailing for 4 hours, putting up a couple hundred bales before this rain, and it's raining right now. So, man, this is a busy time of the year. It's something every single day, all day, and we just had to make it work. And we're glad that Aaron would take the time, schedule us in, get a ton of information out there. Hey, and like I said, guys, if you guys are interested in what we're doing, you have any questions, be sure to hit us up on Instagram. Be sure to send us an email, message us, or reply on YouTube, or even on the Anchor podcast, iTunes and Spotify. You guys can leave us messages or favorite us, however you want to do it. We're going to try to get to 1 million listeners. We're at like 15,000 right now. 15,000 listens, not listeners, but listens. So
20 of them are me.
I've probably listened to my own too. So, but the more you get out there, the more interesting guys that we get, the more we ramble, probably lose some listeners, but it's how we do it. We hope you guys enjoy it. So that's kind of a rundown of the situation. You got anything that you want to talk about, that we went over on that deal?
Only thing I can think of is that I'm going to go try and find some honeycombs and heavy whipping cream. Half and half.
My camera's gonna run out, but that's all right. That's funny. Yeah, that's what Aaron said. You guys probably heard it at the very beginning. We might just let that all run on the. Probably will. Hell yeah, we will. Why not? So, with that said, guys, like I said, jacked up about this. Be safe out there. We know it's a crazy time. Reload. We're going to start doing some podcasts on reloading. I'm working on a reloading video right now. If you guys haven't, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out the O'Neill Ops Instagram, Facebook pages, the website. We're getting a whole bunch more t-shirts made right now, guys. We know it's a crazy time, shipping and everything. I've had guys ask us about our fitted hats made in Texas. Tons of stuff, guys. Be sure to check out our podcast here on the Anchor platform. It's also on Spotify and iTunes. If you search Predator Hunter or James O'Neill or O'Neill Ops, I'm sure you'll find it. We also have it up on a separate playlist on our YouTube channel. You guys can find it if you navigate through it. Once again, guys, I'm James O'Neill, your host with the O'Neill Ops podcast. We had John O'Neill. Our guest was Aaron Davidson at GunWerks. We are out.